Hello everybody, and thanks for joining me today. Y'all remember the Vietnam War. Some of you weren't born yet, but many of you were, and this is a story about the Vietnam War in a way you've never heard it before. I'm Don Flint, and I was drafted into the U.S. Army back in 1965. I was working at an oil company in downtown Corpus Christi, and me and another friend that was working there, Gerald Zimmerman, were both in the oil company in the mail room, and we delivered mail to all the offices, made coffee, some various other things. We both got drafted the same day, ended up going to the same company, got sent to San Antonio and sent over to Louisiana to Fort Polk, and that's where we did our basic training. And me and Gerald were in the same area in different companies, so I did see him from time to time. My folks were kind enough to retain all the correspondence I sent while I was in Vietnam, all throughout my whole Army career. I was just out of being a teenager, had gone to college and not done very well, went into the workforce. Now it's back in the time when conscription was the way that the Army was built up, the draft. The draft is still on the books today, except they don't draft. Now it's a volunteer Army. In those days, a lot of people were drafted. Some people got a college deferment, some people went to Canada. I stayed and I took my chances, and I did get drafted. My folks saved all this correspondence, and what I'm going to do is read all the correspondence that I sent back home during that time, and to give you an insight of what it was like for somebody in the Army that wasn't in combat, that was behind the lines, and just the way the life was. It was very interesting. And so basically around September 23rd of 1965, I shipped out to San Antonio to a processing center to get inducted into the Army, and then they sent us to Louisiana at Fort Polk. And my folks gave me these little postcards that I was able to take with me, because when you go in the Army, you don't take anything. You take yourself and maybe your wallet, and that's about it. And I had these cards, and I wanted to stay in touch with my folks, and as best I could. So the Army wants to take you and mold you into a soldier, and so you have to leave behind all your worldly possessions, all your thoughts of your freedoms. Everything is left at home, and you're going out and becoming a new person, basically. And that's where they have to do it. They have to shape you into a soldier. Not an easy task for somebody who's just out of high school, has their own ideas about life, and that's what I was facing. And I tried to anticipate what I was going to run into being in the Army. Seen movies and talked to people about it. What's it like? And the stories weren't good. But I figured, well, I'm tough. I figure it out. Now, fun thing about me, I had been a sickly child most of my life, and I was burdened with asthma. And if you had asthma in those days, you usually didn't get taken into the military. They wouldn't take you. But the Army was building up. They needed warm bodies, and so they take people with asthma. I tried to get out of being drafted. It didn't work. And so here I am, off to Louisiana. So the first day I was there, I had my little card and I wrote home. This is Thursday, September 23rd, 1965. Dear Mom and Dad, I tried to call you several times, but couldn't get through. I'm here at Fort Polk, Louisiana, at the reception station. They have been easy on us so far, but I doubt that will last long. I will try to call as soon as possible. This seems to be a pretty part of Louisiana. I have no addresses yet, so don't try to write me. I'll probably get really homesick, but I hope not. Love, Donnie. The next day, on the 24th, another note to them. Dear Mom and Dad, things have been relatively easy as yet, with the worst to come. We will ship out of here on Tuesday to go to training area. Do not attempt to write me until I send you an address. We received our tests and clothes today. We go to bed at 9 p.m. and arise at 5 a.m. You should see me in Army clothes and no hair. I am a sight. I'm prepared for the worst at the training area. This is to me a strange way to live, and I'm trying to adjust to it. Love, Private Donnie. You can see on the second day, I'm already calling myself a private. They're molding me into a soldier. Imagine that. On the next Tuesday, the 28th, I wrote, Dear Mom and Dad, I am now at basic training camp at North Fort Polk. Starting today, we have to run everywhere we go. I will tell you all about it later. Please send me my shoe shine brush. I have tried to call you 6 times, but no one was home each time. I sure wish I could talk to you. My address is Private E1 Donald D. Flint. Has my number here and my address. Fort Polk, Louisiana. Love, Donnie. I was trying to keep from being lonely. We were around other people, but didn't know anybody. I was homesick. But it's an adventure. I'm facing an adventure. That's kind of fun. It was all new to me. Everything was totally new. And that's what the Army tries to do, is change your whole lifestyle and to make you into something that you're not at the moment. So on Wednesday the 29th, I wrote, Dear Mom and Dad, things are fine here considering the situation. We will start our training Monday, October 4th. If I make it through all right, I will have my leave during Christmas. If any serious emergency situation occurs, notify the Red Cross at home and they can get me an emergency leave at any time. Please send my empty shaving kit along with my brush for my shoes. We were having to keep our boots shiny, even though we're tromping through the mud and marching around. We had to keep our shoes basically spit shined. And that brush is something I used a lot, and that would really help me. I will write a longer note when I get the time. I won't be able to call you again until 2 weeks or more have passed. Yeah, they won't let you call home for a period of time. They want that break. They got to break you and keep you and reshape you. And by not calling home, that's part of that process. I understood it. I anticipated it. I took it all with a grain of salt. And I vaguely remember the staff sergeants and the drill instructor, the DI, guy with the smoky hat. They would just hammer you and harass you and yell at you and get in your face. And if you understood what they're doing, it didn't bother you. And I just took it and I said, well, this is interesting. Some of the guys couldn't take it. I took it and I just dished it back when I could. And when they want you to call you Sergeant Sir, you do it. Whatever they tell you to do, you better do it, because you can't fight them. They're going to win. So I said, bye for now. Love, Donnie. So that was my first few days. I didn't have anything to write on much. And so in the meantime, the Army sent a letter to my folks just after I left. Actually, it's the 28th of September is the day of the letter. And they sent a letter back to my home. And it's just explaining to my folks exactly what I was going through. And it says, Dear Mr. and Mrs. Flint, please forgive the impersonal form of this letter, but it is the best means I can employ considering the hundreds of young men who report here each week to commence training. Your son has recently reported for duty at this station in order to undertake his first 8 weeks of basic military training. Because you are interested in what lies immediately ahead of him, I would like to tell you something of our organization, of the problems confronting your son, and of how you could aid him in performing his duty here. The people who will give your son his initial training are officers and non-commissioned officers of the highest caliber. Many of our personnel are veterans of World War II or Korea, and have been carefully selected for this assignment. They are proven leaders and able instructors. Transition from civilian to military life is not an easy matter. Our aim is to make the adjustment quickly and with minimum difficulty. To assist each trainee in adapting to his new military environment, unit commanders have been directed to take a personal interest in and render assistance to personnel who may encounter adjustment or other problems. This training demands vigorous physical and mental effort on the part of the trainees and is conducted expertly by highly qualified instructors. These instructors fall into either of two primary categories: the committee instructor and the drill sergeant. The committee instructor is a specialist in a certain field and teaches his subjects on a recurring basis to all trainees. The drill sergeant attends a preparatory 5-week school in which qualifies him in a wide range of subjects. He must not only be able to answer any questions on subjects taught by the committee instructor, but he must be qualified to teach all physical training, dismounted drill, marches, and bivouacs and inspections. The most important attribute of the drill sergeant is his leadership ability. His close contact with trainees requires not only professional competence, but unquestioned moral character. Now I'd like to discuss your very important role in helping make this adjustment less difficult for your son. I cannot understress the influence you will exert during this period. As a parent, you can appreciate the importance that I attach to home influence. News from home is the most important event in a soldier's daily life. I hope that it will be possible for you to write frequent and encouraging letters to your son. Avoid, if you can, matters which might tend to depress or discourage him. Upon arrival at Fort Polk, he will spend from 3 to 5 days of initial processing in the U.S. Army Reception Station before being assigned to a basic training company. During his time, he's encouraged to write frequently, but mail addressed to him at the reception station will not be delivered until he is assigned to one of the companies and is given a permanent address for his stay at Fort Polk. Every effort will be made to provide the fastest mail delivery service possible. And this was an interesting part of it, that the ability to mail letters and get answers back quickly was excellent. I remember it got off to a slow start, but once the letters started coming, it was fast. Even when I was in Vietnam, thousands of miles away, I could get mail back and forth to home in 5 days, and it was free. Just you wrote on the envelope free, and they sent it. In 5 days, they'd have it. Pretty impressive. And that was back in '65, so transportation, and there was no emailing, there was no texting, no FaceTime, no computers to deal with. Everything was, if you talked to them, it was by phone or by a shortwave radio. That would be about all you could do. So it's a pretty amazing thing. Anyway, this letter ends with, "Please be assured that we are aware of our tremendous responsibility to you and to your son. There's no reason why his very demanding tour of duty at this training center should not be a richly rewarding experience of which you and he would be justifiably proud. Sincerely, K.L. Reeves, Major General, USA, Commanding." So that was interesting. That's what they got from the Army at home. There's a copy of it. So that was very, very interesting. I didn't know they got this until they sent it to me after the fact. I'm going to cut this short, but I want to read one more letter. This was October 3rd, so this was just a week or so later. Dear Mom and Dad, I finally got to the PX to get some stationery so I could write you a letter. I've been in the Army about 2 weeks, and they seem like 2 months. We start training tomorrow, and we will train for 7 weeks, with the 8th week a processing out week. I will then go directly to my second station and go to school for 2 weeks, and then receive 14 or 15 days leave during the Christmas holidays. The Army chaplains are very nice people, and in an orientation given by one of them, we were offered the privilege of becoming a chaplain's assistant, which is mostly office type work with a little driving on the side. And if I'm picked for the job, I will train in New Jersey or at Fort Ord in California. A little side note on that, I heard about the chaplain's assistant job from my pastor at my church. And he told me that that might come available to me. So I remembered that. And when I was in this class about chaplains, and they said that, I jumped up there and volunteered to be a chaplain assistant. And I don't think most people would do that. But I knew about it, and I heard it was one of the better positions in the U.S. Army, was to be a chaplain's assistant. And for various reasons, and I'll go into that later. I have found out one thing already, that I don't like military life at all. I can't wait to get out. How about that? I've been there 2 weeks and I can't wait to get out. The food here is pretty good, but my appetite is failing. The barracks are all newly modernized on the outside, but on the inside they are old. I don't remember much about that, but I remember that they weren't in very good shape. The floors were worn out. The bathrooms were old. Very difficult. We had the job of cleaning up the barracks and keeping things nice, and it was very difficult. The weather here is cool and cloudy most of the time. Better than being hot all the time. I have learned my lesson about school in the time I've been here. Most of the people here are high school dropouts. And I don't want to be classed with those kinds of people that I've seen since I have been here. Staying in school and studying aren't as hard as I thought they were. I have been able to take what they dish out so far, except for running a half mile every morning. And I made the run once, but not since I just run out of breath before the end. That's my asthma kicking in. We will have to be able to run a mile within a week or so, and I don't know what's going to happen to me. I've had a cold since the beginning of being here because I slept in a draft 3 or 4 nights in a row, and I got chilled several times. I feel real bad when I go to bed at night. And last night, when I went to bed, I had some asthma. But don't be alarmed, for I am in good hands. I'm going to talk to the sergeant tomorrow about it and see what he can do. My friend Gerald Zimmerman is in the same company, but a different platoon from me, but I see him periodically. I'm still looking forward to your first note, as we haven't had a mail call yet. We'll keep you informed. Love, Private Donnie. So that's kind of how it started. And in future episodes of this podcast, I'm going to go into more of these letters, and as I get into more in the training, I get sent to my next station where I'm training, and that was at Fort Ord, California, and my experiences along the way, and the trips that I made, and I tried to make my experience as positive as possible, taking advantage of everything that I could, travel-wise, learning, seeing new things, new places. I didn't want it to be a negative in my life. I wanted it to be a positive. Even though I was facing going to Vietnam and potentially being a casualty. That's something that a lot of mothers and families were going through at that time, is that their sons were going off to war. But I could have gone anywhere in the world. I had a chance to be in the States. I had a chance to be in Europe or Asia. And to me, it was an adventure. And wherever I ended up, I was going to make the best of it. And that's what I did. So stay tuned for the next episode and keep watching. And please subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate it. Thanks very much. Bye.